Hi, I'm Mars from StrataGames, and today we are playing some Black Sack on MTGO. I don't know why I said where it was on, but we're playing some Black Sack. This is my stock list, updated a couple weeks ago. I added a couple snuff outs to the main deck because snuff outs just really good right now. And otherwise, the deck list looks pretty similar to what you should be familiar with. We're going to grow our Mortician Beetles, Carrion Feeders, and Vampires by sacrificing all of our various fodder creatures. We have some utility, some card draw, some removal, and win con with the right of consumption. And our sideboard looks like that. So I think I've explained this deck ad nauseum before, so if you are not familiar with it, please check one of my many previous videos for a more in-depth explanation, including a look into an introduction to the deck if you're totally unfamiliar. But otherwise, I think we're just going to jump right in and get a league going. So, been a little bit since I played this deck on stream, so I'm pretty excited. You can now pick up my comprehensive guide to Esper Cryo Affinity, including 38 sideboard matchups, and I just put out a big update for my Black Sack guide, including a slightly different deck list. I began offering coaching sessions if you're interested in taking your Pauper game to the next level, and I'm accepting deck donations, so if you desperately want me to play a deck that I usually wouldn't play, something like Elves, or maybe you want me to suffer through High Tide, then you can make me do that for a small fee. I've started posting a league video every single day, not to mention streaming at least a couple times a week on Twitch, but I'm not going to be able to keep that up forever unless I can get a little bit more help from the community. Any of the ways I've just mentioned are great ways to help me out, or you can even subscribe and support me on a monthly basis. All right, round one here. This is a pretty good opener. We have a Stamina Shambler combo, which is really strong. We have a Vampire to go with it, 2 lands, Curse Marauder for some interaction, even some card draw. This hand is pretty good indeed. Rip High Tide, rested non-pauper. Indeed. High Tide is dead. Alright, looks like we're against familiars. And we're just starting with the Shambler, nothing else really to cast. Another Vampire, a little redundant, but that's okay. Familiar. I can just Marauder right away to kill like the Faithful. A Snuff Out would be a great draw, just so I could take out the Familiar while still putting down like a Vampire. I'm going to swing. I mean, they're probably going to take it or maybe block here. If they somehow blocked here, then I would Stamina. But they definitely make the right block. I think we're just going to play the Vampire here. I could have still just Stamina and Village Rites, but I kind of like getting a Vampire down to start forcing some blocks. They play a Seagate Oracle here. They tap all of their mana, which either they forgot that it was cheaper or they're going to definitively play something with the blue, but assuming it's not a snap, I like that they tap out here. It is, in fact, a snap. Yeah, a little annoying. They only have 2 cards left in hand. Not the end of the world. I could sacrifice this so they don't untap mana. I have another one, so that's not a huge concern. What's the worst thing they could cast after this? I mean, another Oracle would be fine. They could cast like a Muldrifter evoked with no Ephemerate. That would be fine. I could just let it go. If I draw another land at some point, I think there's a real chance we end up casting both Vampires. If we don't, probably not so much. I think we'll let it go. Preordain. And maybe they just hold up a counterspell, like a Prohibit, so maybe this was worse. Definitely possible. Scry 1 to the top. Swamp's not bad here. We have enough stuff to use our mana on. I could Marauder and Stamina the Marauder to kill 2 creatures. I think we're probably just playing Vampire and Sage. And if this gets prohibited, not a big deal. We can play another one next turn. Yeah. It's kind of part of why I wanted to let the snap go through, because if I had sacrificed there, obviously I'd be able to get a Vampire through without them having the mana to prohibit this turn, but then they would still, like, they used 2... Okay, Meeting of Minds is annoying. They used 2 spells to kill our 1 Vampire, so I'm kind of okay with that. Well, they have our Archaeomancer, picks up Snap, maybe just another, maybe Prohibit again. Meeting of Minds, okay. They pass. So Meeting and 1 unknown. I mean, the longer we wait to cast the Marauder, the worse it gets, but it feels like we need to get the pressure going at some point. If I cast a Vampire and they have a Prohibit, kind of annoying. Could also just go for like a big Village Rites turn. That doesn't feel great either. I think I'm going to cast the Vampire and swing with both. If they block with anything other than the Godfarer's Faithful, then I can go for a Stamina here. And obviously we're not getting as much value as if we have the Shambler getting Stamina, but if this does actually kill a Sunscape Familiar, I'm pretty okay with that. I feel like it's weird that they're putting this at risk as opposed to like a Seagate Oracle, so I assume they have like a Snap or something. They're going to Meeting. Looks like I might be able to actually eat the Familiar. I understand they want to keep the Archaeomancer around. It just feels like the Seagate Oracle was the least valuable, plus it would have actually killed the Infestation Sage, so seems like an odd block, but maybe they were just not thinking that I had any tricks. I don't know. All right, that resolves. Yeah, I'm gonna eat this, and obviously since this has this effect until end of turn, now we'll sacrifice it. I mean, I think that was a pretty good trade for us. And then we'll pass. Thoughts on where you think the meta is going post-ban? I feel like High Tide was boosting Counterspell and aggro decks at the expense of mid-range. Yes, I definitely think you're right. Most mid-range decks had a pretty bad matchup against High Tide, especially Jund, which had, has a pretty good matchup against most everything else. And yeah, High Tide was forcing you to either try to compete by winning on turn 4 or have tons of control and disruption. They might have Muldrifter Ephemerate here. That'd be annoying. Looks like they might. Yeah, so I could see Jund getting better, even better, and it is already pretty good. Probably a decent boon for, like, Affinity. Ooh, they stacked their triggers wrong. Maybe if they didn't get an Ephemerate, it wouldn't matter anyway, but if they stacked them the other way and they drew the Ephemerate, they could still have used it on Muldrifter. I mean, yeah, Terror's still going to be a good deck, but it certainly had a good matchup against High Tide, so it's going to go down a little bit maybe. As a mid-range enjoyer, I'm a fan that those decks will probably get a little bit better. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like any deck that was specifically losing to High Tide was like not being played because of that. Like Jund still saw plenty of play. Maybe Esper Affinity gets enough of a boost that people will start playing that more. But I don't really feel like people were not playing decks because they had bad matchups to High Tide. Maybe I'm wrong. Beetle's a good draw. They could have Prohibit here, but they always could. I'm going to just cast the Beetle, and I could Marauder. I mean, probably gets like an Oracle. Could just go for some card draw. I think Marauder, the earlier the better. Let's just cast that. Important question. Do you ever find yourself singing My Sacrifice by Creed when playing this deck? Very important question. Can't say I'm that familiar with that song by Creed. So perhaps it's one I will have to look into, but not currently. And we do eat the Oracle. Swing of the Vampire and the Insect. Block with the Archaeomancer. Okay. That feels like they do have the Ephemerate then, but I will sacrifice obviously to keep this alive. Or maybe they have a snap and they just want to force a sacrifice first. Part of me wants to keep the Marauder around because if we find a Stamina, it could be good on that, but Shambler's the same thing, so probably don't need them both, so we'll get rid of this one. I would be surprised if they're throwing this away, though. I assume there's a snap, an ephemerate. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, we get back the snap. Pretty good. Yeah, without a snuff out, it's going to be difficult to do much against the Archaeomancer loop. Get back Prohibit, not Ephemerate. Does that mean they have another Ephemerate in hand? So they have Prohibit and Snap that we know about, so we can't really go all in on anything, but we might as well attack with everything we have. Oh, well, that insect was supposed to be attacking. They just take it. I'm not going to force anything then. We will pass. They have a Mystic here. Yeah, okay. With a Snap and a Prohibit. These insects are about to get a lot worse. I'm going to go for some Village Rites beforehand in case they want to counter them, so that if we can find like a Snuff Out or something, then we can do it before they're making birds off their Prohibits and such. They might Snap here. I feel like if they just Prohibit, that opens themselves up to dying. Yeah, they Snap the Beetle. Let's see, if Beetle's in hand, we have three creatures to sacrifice, so it could be a 4/4 again. That's not that effective. Kind of feel like I just want to Village Rites it away, and this makes it so they can't. Obviously, I'm sacrificing it or something, because if I let this untap, then they could Prohibit. This way, I get to draw my 4 cards, which is pretty decent. No interaction though, but they are tapped out. Snuff Out off the top. Shambling Ghast, that does not do enough. Play a Beetle, Ghast, Shambler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we don't even have lethal damage here. Even if we sacrificed everything, we will swing with these two though. They just take it. Don't want to sacrifice anything at all. Start scrolling the Beetle, but we know they have a Prohibit. I guess I'll just leave it. Better to leave for the Feeder to have more sustainable damage, or a Vampire on a future turn when they might block, I guess. Or maybe they tap out again and we get a Rite of Consumption. Well, a second Mystic's could be pretty difficult to deal with, I will say. So I could attack with all the big growers. If they just have a Prohibit, it's fine. But if they have like a Snap and I have to block, well, I guess the only reason that I'd need to grow them a whole bunch is if they block with the Mystics. And if they do that, I'm going to know that they have a Snap because they're not going to put them in harm's way otherwise. So I think we just swing and see what they do. If they cast something before blocks, then they can make some birds. They're just going to take it. Well, I'm going to grow it a little bit so that we're hitting for some actual real damage. 3 is like gonna take forever. It's gonna be a waste, so we might as well hit for like 7 or something. Almost feels like 7's not even enough. We're going for 9. Like just with the the Godfair is Faithful, they just gain so much life. And I'm not gonna cast a Shambler into the Prohibit, giving them potentially allowing them to use their mana if they don't have anything else to use it on. Although they have a Meeting of Minds. That is annoying with the Mystics. And they have the Ephemerate. Well, they already have a Prohibit. I guess Ephemerate finds Snap, Meeting of Minds. I don't think we can win here, unfortunately. They're going to have way too many blockers, way too many cards. They have a Prohibit that they're never going to tap out from, so we're never going to get a Right of Consumption off, I don't think. So, yeah, just no interaction early was really painful there. We do get some more interaction with Tragic Slips, Mesmeric Fiends, and Spinning Darkness. Cursed Marauder, as we saw, is not super strong. I'm looking at my own guide here because I can't always remember everything that I've written. Take out some Link Breakers because the flyers can be a little more relevant, and the Shambling Guests because they can't really pick anything of note off. We usually would cut Rite of Consumption against like a counterspell deck, but this is a counterspell deck that actually taps out a fair amount. And they don't play that many counterspells. It's usually like 4 Prohibits, maybe a couple Negates, especially maybe Negates from the sideboard. All right, on the play. Feeder Double Fiend seems pretty good on the play. I think we're going to keep this one. What matchups do you feel like are almost auto wins with Black Sack? I play Rakdos Madness, and I feel like I have no chance. That is interesting. I think Rakdos Madness is a tougher matchup. I don't know if it's like unfavored for Black Sack, but I do think it can be tough for us because, not that I guess I'll tell you how to beat Black Sack if you're the Rakdos Madness pilot. But I mean, you just want to play control, basically. You want to kill all the creatures. So if you just try to race us, yeah, we're usually going to be able to race a little bit faster. But if you pick off our creatures or pressure especially with a vampire, we have to sack them and then that goes back down. You can keep pressuring it. It can be pretty good. Beetle's it's great, but it's a little annoying that I'm going to waste a counter by playing this Fiend, but I think it's just too mana efficient to do it this way. All right, Double Familiar, Stonehorn, Lorien revealed, Preordained. So I can't prevent them from getting a Familiar here. So maybe I take the Lorien, force them to start looking for lands, and then next turn I can take the Dignitary before that becomes a problem. Kind of like that. So yeah, what matchups do I feel like are almost auto wins with Black Sack? I think Gruul Monsters is really easy for us. We can just our beetles grow with their fodder or their spawn. We can get bigger than them very quickly. They don't play a lot of removal. Even the removal they do play is usually Screds, Bolts, or Ram-Throughs, which is all conditional damage based, and we can often get bigger than that. So I think that's one of our best matchups. Another beetle. I could play 2 beetles. Yeah, and the next turn I can Fiend Village Rites. I think that's good. I don't want to waste counters on any more beetles. I'll attack here. If they did block, I'd probably grow with the beetle, because I think eating this is really valuable. Yeah, I think that's probably our closest to like an auto win. What else is an easy matchup for us? I'm blanking on all the matchups that exist. Let's take a look. Let's see. Oh, Bogles is... I mean, we have to find an Accursed Marauder, and if we don't, we can lose that potentially. But you find one Accursed Marauder, you usually win the game. Even if you don't, you can often go bigger than them. Not in the long term, but sometimes you can go faster and big enough as long as they don't gain like life gain. Certainly if they don't gain trample, that's really good for us. And I mean, Terror I wouldn't call an auto win by any means, but I think it is heavily favored for us, like maybe 70% or something. We have some graveyard hate in the sideboard, but we have a lot of removal, or we have a fair amount of removal now. We have ways to chump block very effectively, and we can get bigger than them as well. All right, so they have Last Breath. This is only creature power 2 or less, so I don't care about that. Actually, I guess my beetles are small enough. Actually, all my creatures are small enough to get Last Breath. Maybe I do care about that. Prohibit, I don't really mind at this point. Preordain is, makes it so they can't take a land. I mean, if they go for a Last Breath, I can sack that creature to go to the other 2. Stonehorn could be a problem, but it's a couple turns away. I think Last Breath actually is the pick, just because our creatures are currently not big enough, and I'd rather not lose any of them. Yep, they take it. Take 6, pass the turn. So yeah, Bogles, Monsters, those are good ones for us. I think Coggates is generally pretty favored for us. They do have counter spells and Prismatic Strands, but we can get really big really fast, so that it doesn't really matter if they can Prismatic, because we can chump block. They're able to race because they can get life gain from lifelink, but if we just chump block their lifelinkers and then sack it, they can't, and so I think they can't really race us very effectively most times then. So I think that one's favored for us, like pretty heavily favored. And yeah, I think I think Bogles and Monsters are the only ones I would call like auto wins. Obviously you can still lose, but like those are the ones where if I go up against, I'm going to assume I probably can win pretty easily. Then there are some like terror and stuff that I would say is like 70%, pretty good favored, but still definitely a chance of losing. But yeah, we're not a deck that has like a ton of auto win matches for sure. All right, so they left up Prohibit for 1 mana. They could technically have something for white like an Ephemerate. We got an Unearth, so I could Vampire and then Unearth. I actually don't want a Vampire. I'd rather Shambler. They counter that, I can Fiend with the Unearth. Well, we're going to cast a Shambler. I might even just want to Unearth this, because that could be grow both of these, so it could be 12 damage. Yeah, they prohibit that. 12 damage, not quite lethal, but if I also Sadistic Glee, that could be lethal, so that forces a chump block rather than a Fiend when I know what their hand is. I mean, the Dignitary could be a pain next turn, but if I force a chump block here and put them really low, I guess how do I lose? I lose by them getting a Dignitary and then Ephemerating it and then that stuff. So maybe, yeah, maybe we do just go for the Fiend. I don't have to present lethal damage this turn. Seagate Oracle and the Dignitary. Yeah, I'm just going to take Dignitary. They don't even have the land for it, but if they top deck a land and then find the right cards, I could see us losing that way. And I'd rather that just doesn't happen. And if here they just play Preordain and an Oracle, they're going to have to chump block with 3 creatures. So every single creature, because I can make any of these lethal. Scry 2 to the bottom. There's the Oracle. They have a Plains, so they could have an Ephemerate. Village Rites. Might as well play this. But yeah, all of these creatures are lethal, so if they don't triple block, we should just win. If they do, I can just eat every single creature. Yeah, this one's only dealing 3 right now, so I'll eat the Vampire, but this will make all their creatures die, and then I don't really see them getting back from that. If they have the Ephemerate, they could save 1 creature, and that could actually make them have a better chance, but looks like not. Play Familiar and play Archaeomancer. Sure. That's not gonna do anything. Get back Preordain, play this, attack with everybody. Alright, we won that one. That was pretty much just thanks to a good draw of Beetles and Feeder and Fiends. Good disruption and good pressure at the same time. Exactly what you want. Most controller combo matchups like this, you need to have a hand that is either disruptive or aggressive. But obviously if you can get both, that's even better. All right, we do have a disruptive hand with Snuff Out Tragic Slip, but no pressure at all. 2 staminas that are looking really bad, 1 land. I don't think we can keep this. If just like, I mean, if we had like a Carrion Feeder or maybe even a Vampire, I could, but all right, this one's better. We still have a Snuff Out, which is nice. We have Beetle, Vampire. We really need some fodder now, and obviously we're getting rid of one of our staminas, but definitely a better hand. They start with a Preordain. That was a great top deck. We're not against an opponent that probably has like actual removal for the Beetle. That's not true, I guess. We saw Last Breath. If I play Beetle here, then next turn I Vampire, then I Sage, like, I am getting in for more damage with the Beetle that turn, whereas if I just Sage here, I'm not. But I think protecting against the Last Breath is probably worth it. All right, they just have a tap land, another Infestation Sage. Okay, we are getting the fodder we need. Do I play Vampire? Because if they prohibit it, that's not great. We really need the Vampire to survive. So maybe I do Beetle Sage here. Yeah, I think that's better. Yep, they prohibit the Beetle, so obviously I don't love that either, but I'd rather have the Vampire around, I think. Chancery, so they're not going to be able to hold up Counterspell this time. They also have no creatures, which is really good for us right now. Ooh, Unearth's not bad either. That can be another Beetle or whatever we need. We're definitely going to just Vampire while they can't Counterspell it. And we're protected against Last Breath because we can grow the Vampire's power if need be. There's a Familiar and a Seagate Oracle. Muldrifter, okay. Muldrifter dies. We'll probably snuff out the Familiar. It is how the deck functions, to be fair, but also Snuff Out's pretty important to get rid of Murmuring Mystic and Archaeomancer, so there's something to be said about keeping it around. Ooh, Sadistically. I like that. That grows the Vampire. Well, if I grow the Vampire, it puts all my eggs in one basket. But I can also unearth the Beetle, so actually that's 2 baskets that are growing. I think that's okay, actually. Unearth here, Sadistically. So the Vampire grows twice as large. If it gets snapped, then it's kind of unfortunate is what I'm saying here. But we're going to snuff this out so the snap at least is less valuable. We do this after the Glee because it grows. And this gets +3 for every creature we sack. Wait, is this lethal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, well, that's 15. So this is just lethal, actually. So let's just sack. I mean, they're tapped out. I cannot imagine that they play Snapback. That's like the only thing we have to fear. So I guess we will just win this turn then. I was not even doing that math, so I did not realize I could. But Glee plus Vampire is always an incredible combo. All right, that's nice. Honestly, if they had like a Snap or another creature or something here, like we definitely could fall behind there. So always important you do your math, and I almost didn't. So nice way to start the league, though. All right, we're on the draw. We have the Feeder Beetle, Unearth, Right of Consumption. Yeah, usually I don't like keeping a hand that's one land if I don't have card draw. But with this much variety, like if they kill a Feeder or a Beetle, I can get it back with an Unearth, or if I want more fodder, I can do that. I think we're going to give it a try. Also on the draw, gives us an extra chance. Rustveil Bridge. Okay, well, it's going to be tough if they are Boros. Could be Jeskai. Snow-covered plains. Looks like it might be Jeskai, actually, then. Yep, that is an interesting snow-covered plains. All right, Jeskai indeed. Yeah, that's going to be tough, too, with no lands. Well, what are you going to do? I'll play a Beetle here, I suppose. If I play the Feeder, I can't protect it against a Bolt or a Scred. I could then just unearth it, but yeah. Double Wildfire start. We do get the Swamp. That's pretty good. So I could Feeder and Beetle, have 3 3/3s that all die to Scred and Bolt. Although if they try to kill one, I can sack one to grow the others. Or I could carry and Feeder, sack the Sage, unearth, and have the ability to have 2 5/5s that are a lot harder to kill. I think that's better. And then we don't even have to sack the rest of this until later, ideally until we have the other Beetle on board. This could get Spell Pierced, which would be kind of annoying, but looks like not. Yeah, so for that reason, I'm going to just hit for 2. Usually I would be okay to sack this at least once and grow a little bit more for damage. I cycle Lorien, but since we have another Beetle I want to grow alongside these, I'd rather wait. So Scred deals 4. They just have like a Mystic or something. Yep, that's pretty annoying. Oh, but then they're tapping out for Augur. Okay. I mean, unless if I get a Swamp here, I could maybe win. Seems unlikely, but another Beetle. Okay. I guess I could just play 2 Beetles. 1, 2, 3. These are going to be 4/4s. These are going to be 5/5s. They can Scred 1, but they can't Scred them all. I think that seems pretty good. Good afternoon, Mr. Streamer. Good afternoon, Valley. How's it going? So we're going to sack the Sage here. A million yeses. We wanted to sack that one anyway, so I didn't mind the attack. I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 8... 14 damage to them. I don't think that's necessary, but these insects aren't going to be very powerful against the Mystic anyway. So I think we're going to have to grow these to force chump blocks. So 8. I could do 10. But then if I get a Village Rites, I don't have anything to sack. I think we just leave it there. Going fine. Glad to hear it. We're in round 2 here. We just played against Azorius Familiars. Now we're playing against another white-blue Mystic deck with Jeskai here. I think this is okay. You know, they could have some really good stuff. Sometimes they have Destroy Evil main deck. That could be annoying. Obviously, Scred can catch some of these guys, and they have Counterspell, so I can't necessarily get, like, Shambler's a good draw for Stamina Shambler, but that's not going to get through Counterspell. I mean, maybe the Shambler would. I guess probably not. I think we try for it anyway, if they want to counter this. I guess doing it pre-combat lets them get an extra guy down. They don't counter that. That's crazy. All right. Well, we'll swing. It would give them an extra blocker, plus it would just let them... Do they have the Destroy Evil here? Or Thraben Charm, maybe? Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's annoying. Creature with power 4 or greater. So I could Supernatural Stamina, Shambler, and then sack and response, or on the Feeder, but I'm pretty positive that's going to get countered. Is it worth drawing out the counter? Probably not, because it makes them a bird, which could chump, and I'd rather they don't chump, or I'd rather they don't have enough birds to chump. So I probably just want to make all of these Beetles as big as possible in response. I think I'm just going to sack this Shambler. I can't imagine they have more than 1 Destroy Evil in the main deck. Maybe they do. That's fine, even if they do. Sack the Squirrel. Then I sack the Feeder. I have a 7/7 and 2 6/6s. 2/6. None of those are quite lethal by themselves. I could sack the Insect too. I think I kind of like having the Insect around, though. Well, I mean, they might block it with the bird. I think that's fine. Yeah, we're gonna sack this to itself and just have 3 Beetles. What are you gonna do about it? Ephemerate. Okay, sure. Make more blockers. Whiff on the Augur. That's nice. So they got a triple block now. Okay, nice. That means the Ephemerate's gonna make him another bird, but it's not gonna get him any more value since they had to waste the Augur. Brainstorm's pretty good. I mean, if we can get them to tap low enough that they don't have Counterspell up, like just tap low if they're blue, then Rite of Consumption can just finish him off. But I'm obviously not gonna do that unless they are tapped out of blue, because they could even have like Spell Pierce or something. And if they are, if they just have 3 white up, then they could have like a Union to the 3rd path to gain some life, so I'm not going to use it there either. Okay, they just have all the cantrips. That's pretty good. And a Wildfire. Okay, so they do have Counterspell. Don't really know how I could force the Counterspell out without using Rite of Consumption here, because, like, I don't have mana. Like, I get Stamina, but that doesn't do anything. Even if I draw Swamp, I don't think Stamina's going to do it. So, I mean, we're still in a fine spot, but the Mystic's making things troublesome. I think I'm going to attack with everything. If they want to trade a bird for an insect, then that just means 1 fewer bird to block the real problems later. Yeah, and they know it. Put them to 6. So if I Vampire here, they just Counterspell it. That's not very good. But if I draw another Swamp next turn and I like Vampire and they Counterspell that, then maybe I can Rite of Consumption for lethal. Or Archaeomancer with Ephemerate. That's going to be pretty good. That was what I was worried about. They're going to go for it because they assume we don't have removal since we haven't killed the Mystic. I think that's fair. They can pick up Destroy Evil. Sure, yeah, that makes sense. Ooh, if they destroy Evil, though, and that they tap out a counterspell, then we can just get them with the Rite of Consumption because any of these is lethal right now. Okay, that could be good. Shambler, too. Okay, so I can't Vampire, so I could Shambler. Shambler doesn't do anything. I think we just attack. Yeah, because now they have to cast something to block all three. They don't want to lose the Archaeomancer. It's probably going to be Destroy Evil, and then if they're tapped low, I guess I have to hope there's no Spell Pierce for the Rite of Consumption. For that reason, I might like Stamina in response to try to draw out the Spell Pierce, just in case there is one. Yeah, they try to blow this up. Because they're not going to have a Force Spike. That would be silly. Yeah, we're going to do this. It went off right away. Okay, I'm going to assume there's no Spell Pierce, though. Block all three. We're going to Rite of Consumption for 6 damage. Sure, grow bigger. Nice. All right. That worked well. Big fan of how that went down. So against Jeskai Control, we're going to bring in Tragic Slip, Spinning Darkness, and just 3 Fiends this time, just because I don't need to go, like, Familiars is a little bit more combo-y than this one, so just not as much reason to have them all in. Curse Marauder's not great. Also, they tap out less, so the Rite of Consumption we were able to make work there, but probably not going to be able to make that work again. And Shamblegast doesn't kill anything except for a bird, so we'll just try that. All right, no lands. Not keepable. Ugh, 2 vampires. We have a little bit of removal. We put back 1 vampire, maybe. Going to 5 does not sound very good. But this, we have to draw fodder, and even then we have, like, nothing great. I think we're going to go to 5. This one's better. Ooh, it is better. We do have to put back... I mean, this is an incredible 7-card hand. It's an okay 5-card hand. Put back Snuff Out, Beetle, and I could just go all in on Shambler, Feeder. I could get greedy and put back a Swamp and try to keep all 4 of these. We are on the draw, but they kept 7. So then we what? Turn 1 Shambler, turn 2 a Feeder, turn 3 Stamina maybe? It's not the worst thing ever. I think Snuff Out goes no matter what. We just don't have enough cards here to keep both the reactive plan and the proactive plan, and we need the proactive plan. So I think it's just so much worse if we get rid of a Beetle or something here. I think our best chance is by putting away a Swamp here. This does not feel good, but this is better than our 6-card hand by a mile. Even if we kept the Swamp, which could have been the smarter play, could have been the way to work out, but look at us, lucky. They start with an island. I don't know what they're going to have for blue, so I assume they, like, maybe a Spell Pierce or something, but I'm not obviously playing anything where that matters. We start with the Shambler no matter what. Brainstorm, yeah. I mean, we could get a Carrion Feeder under a counterspell, but I'm more worried, like, then if they just play an untapped red source, bolt it, our hand falls apart without the feeder. So here's hoping they just play, like, a tap land and just have an island up, and then I go for a Carrion Feeder Stamina on the Shambler, make a bunch of guys. Assuming they don't have a board wipe for that, then I can get down a Beetle, and we have 2. Then we either have 6 creatures, we've gone wide, but we also have... Augur would be fine here too. Okay. Oh, love that. Cleansing Wildfire the island, so no bridge. That also... It's probably partially to shuffle away 1 card with the Brainstorm, but that is... Yeah, because they just get an island. That's very good for us. And we draw another Swamp, so... Vindication. Play a Feeder. Yeah, so we're going for this while they're tapped out. But I'm only sacrificing it once, right? So we're losing 1 counter on the Beetle, more if they try to interact with us. But if I just play the Beetle here and then they try to like bolt these, then I'm forced to sack the Shambler, then that hand just isn't very good. And their hand is clearly not amazing. They're brainstorming really proactively. They had a Wildfire and a non-artifact land. So things seem to be going okay. There's a bridge. And they have up a Scred for 2 or a Bolt. We could play around both of those. Village Rites is a great draw, too. We had an incredible 7-card hand, and then drew... I guess we drew 2 Swamps, which would have been bad draws, especially the second one if we hadn't bottomed the first. But this hand is working out real well for us. I think I'm just going to Village Rites a Squirrel. We lose a counter on a Feeder, but then I can maybe draw 2, draw another Stamina or something, and we're still not putting ourselves at risk of losing either of these to their removal. More Village Rites. Okay, that's fine. At this point, we'll just leave those up to be reactive. Attack for 5, pass the turn. We already played a land, so there's nothing more that we could really play this turn by Village Ritesing. Might as well wait in case they have something else. All right, Cleansing Wildfire. And if they're just tapping out, or mostly tapping out, they have up a 1 removal spell, then I'm feeling pretty good here. Yep. All right, we take that one down 2-0. Yeah, I mean, they kept a 7-card hand, and they had plenty of things to cast, but it just seemed like a pretty awkward hand, so worked out pretty well for us. Happy you're playing more Black Sack. I took your list to a 3-1 at my first Pauper event, thanks to your content. I'm very glad. that you've been playing and enjoying the deck, and yeah, getting some nice results too. Love to hear about that. Of course, for my locals, I shift between a lot of different decks, but I also, of course, I still play Black Sack. So I just played it at my last 2 local events, and both of them I went 3-0. So been loving it in paper too. Plug opportunity. How has the support been since you started the daily content? Yeah, good question. I mean the support. Oh, real quick. This hand, it's gonna be a keep because we have the village rights, but on the play it's a little risky. But double beetle, it's too good. The support's been great. I mean, people have seemed to be really enjoying all the content. I've had a good amount of people, as far as like financial support, trying to make it so that I can, do this as a full-time job. People have been buying the guides I've written. I have some monthly supporters. I have actually a deck donation that's going up on the YouTube channel in about 6 minutes. So definitely not quite where I need to be able to continue doing this full-time, but it's been really nice. Yeah, so in general, I think it's all going well. I will say, just to be, is this more familiars? I think Crystal I might play familiars, so that sounds right. In which case, I'm just gonna get a beetle down. To be completely honest, I think the views on my average video have gone down a little bit since I've started putting out more videos. I don't know if there's a specific reason for that. I know YouTube's always being the worst about various things. They've been doing all these AI initiatives and all this crap that's like making it harder for people to see content. So I don't know if it's that, or maybe I know even the most dedicated people who really enjoy the content, might not be able to watch 7 videos a week. So it's also just possible that there's a little more content that people can keep up with, which is fine if people who do like it and who can watch it all enjoy it, and then people who can only watch a couple a week still do that. That's totally fine by me. All right, I really need to... We have so much stuff in hand. I think I need to village rights to try to hit a land drop, but I want to get a beetle down so I don't waste that counter. So I think I do play the beetle, sack the insect, and hope to hit a swamp. I could also just play a Bloodthorn Vampire here. That's not terrible, but we're just not deploying things as quickly as I would like at that point. Yeah, we're just going to attack and hit for 1. I mean, I could technically have killed that if I stamina the beetle and village rights the insect, but I don't think that's where we're at. Play the beetle, village rights here. Nice. We hit the land and play some more creatures. All right. Yeah, so just to finish up with that, the support in general has been really great. I really appreciate everybody who's been supporting by just watching or financially supporting or anything like that. And ideally, I'll be able to continue with it. But if anybody, wants to support more financially, I can play, do deck donations, play any deck that you want me to play. I've been doing coaching a little bit, so if you are interested in upping your game a bit, I can help with that as well. And yeah, and of course, buying the guides helps too. Lurking here until we get some heroic content with a new card. What, you got to be more specific, the real Erebos. What card specifically? Is it the hybrid blue-white one? Because I thought I put out a heroic video like a couple weeks with that one. But if there's a different one, then I'm not familiar with, potentially. Okay, now we're getting down the vampire. It's about time. Attack with the team, and if they block with a familiar, we can eat it with like a stamina. Yeah, if they block the God Pharaohs. Yeah, you meant that one. Well, I did put out a video on October 3rd playing that exact card. So there's one video with it if you're interested. Okay, so we could sack this. There's no way we can kill this here. We could like stamina it, sack 4 times, hit for 412. I think I'd rather... It's a lot of damage, but we're losing the Bloodthorn Vampire damage. This is 4. I think we just deal... Oh no, I was thinking about village righting, but I should have done that before. Obviously I could have gotten in 2 more damage, because if I hit another land it's really good. Alright, now I'm just gonna play a Shambling Gas and we'll pass to this. I just recently started watching. I love the Pauper content. You're the new home for my Prime sub. Well, thank you so much, JK. I really appreciate that, and I'll gladly take your Prime sub for as long as you have it. So enjoy the Hedron that you get access to. Okay, they're gaining so much life now, but we can deal so much damage next turn. Okay, another familiar. That gets really scary with 2. Oh, Preordained's fine. Okay, I guess, yeah, Ghostly Flicker would be the worst. They only have a couple cards in hand. All right, this turn, even without doing the math, I can surely force 1 to 2 blocks here with... We just have so much damage, although they might not even know that. Oh, well. Ooh, Shambler. Okay, so let's do the math. If I play Shambler and Stamina, this is 6 triggers, which means Vampire, I already know for sure that could one-shot them 100%. So let's just count the beetles. They're 2 2s. This is 6, so that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Each of them could be dealing 13 damage. Okay, seems all right. Let's which means they have to block one of them. They might not know they have to block one of them, but they do. So let's just play a Shambler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these reach 11 right now. So I'm just going to attack here because it's a little more unassuming. And if they think, well, it's 2/2/2 beetles, they might not block either of them. They might just block the vampire because they think maybe that can get there, then block these other ones. But if they don't block both beetles, we can just win. And that's exactly what happens. So now we supernatural stamina the Shambler, sacrifice that, and these 2 beetles are just going to destroy them. Of course, you got to say yes to all these triggers now, which is a little annoying, but winning the game is well worth it. Again, in case unless they have a snapback that I'm not expecting. I'm surprised that we've already seen 2 Familiars players, but I'm realizing, is this a match that probably lost to High Tide? Because they didn't have that many counter spells, and so now it's being seen because of that. All right, this is 18 damage. I could deal more, but let's just do Exacxies. Nice. All right, well, we know what we get. We get Tragic Slip, Mesmeric Fiend, Spitting Darkness, take out Marauder, Link Breaker, and Shambling Ghasts. All right, well, 1 lander with no card draw, but we have double interaction, Beetle Feeder, Unearth, Shambler. I think we're going to run this one. We're also on the draw, which means you always hit the second land. Maybe not, but still a pretty good hand, even on 1 land. Right, could be good later. We know from the last Azorius Familiars player that they could have, Last Breath. So I still let out on the Beetle. If they Last Breath it, so be it, but I didn't lead on the Feeder for that reason. Stamina. Ooh. Well, if I knew I was getting a Stamina, I would have led on Feeder or Shambler so that I could then, this is 3 turns away without getting another Swamp. But, what are you going to do? If I Feeder now, they could still Last Breath it. I'm just going to go with the Shambler. There's a Familiar and a Snap on the Beetle. Well, I can't do anything about it, except I'm going to snuff out this Familiar so they don't have, a Mole Drifter or something to cast. I guess that would be 4, not 5. Well, they can't cast a Murmuring Mystic or something now, which I guess if they had, maybe I'd just snuff that out, but I think throwing off their mana is pretty good. This league, I think you've kept everyone lander with no card draw. Look, they've looked really good. I think you might be right, but and I even kept a 2-lander that I then bottomed a land on 5 cards, but that one worked out. Look, the rule of thumb is there to be broken. Not really, but they've just looked so good. And this one, to be fair, is not working out. The Snap is pretty brutal. I think now we just have to go with the Feeder. And yeah, we've drawn the Swamp most times. This deck can play on 1 land more than any other deck, but if it plays on 1 land the entire game, it's probably going to lose. But often it can play on 1 land for 2 or 3 turns and be okay. Whereas most decks, if they stumble on a land drop for even a single turn, they're going to lose. We're still not in honestly a terrible spot. Seagoat Oracle is not the worst thing we could see, but, it's getting worse. And Tragic Slip is fine, but I think we got to go with the Stamina here on the Shambler. So we're going to attack with both, because if either when they block, I can kill the Seagate Oracle. They block the Feeder, so we're going to Stamina here. I don't get in for any damage this way, but that's not my primary concern. Do that and then eat a squirrel, eat their guy. This also now gives me access to Spinning Darkness if I really need it, against an Ephemerate, because I could sack the Shambler, and that's our 3rd black spell in the graveyard. So I'm going to hope to not do that until we have our Beetle down, but it is something we have in case we need to. If they go for Mole Drift or Ephemerate here, I probably will. There's an Oracle. All right, Swamp. It's turn 5, and honestly, if we got a Swamp here, I think it would be in an incredible spot. Double Beetle here. Still not bad if we just Beetle once. The alternative is Tragic Slip something, so we're not really doing that. If this gets prohibited, it's fine. I can survive that. Swing with the Feeder. If they go for a double block to try to force us to sack a bunch, I'm going to assume there's a Snap, and I'm probably not going to do much. All right, 3 damage. I think we'll just let that go. Again, I kind of want this other Beetle to be down, growing before I sack any of these if I can help it. There's a Dignitary. It's a 1/4, so I can't Darkness that if they do have the Ephemerate, although they clearly don't have it right now because they didn't tap appropriately to hold it up. I mean, they couldn't hold it up. They could have used it right away, though. I don't know. All right, they attack for 2. That might be something I need to Tragic Slip. Oh, boy. So I could just get down another Beetle, but then if they start on the Dignitary train, kind of a tough spot. I could just Tragic Slip it now. They could have a Dispel or something, but usually they're going to run Prohibits and Negates, so that might be fine. I'm not attacking this turn no matter what, because I am not allowed. What's up, Ben? I think I'm just going to play another Beetle and hope they have no way to flicker it next turn. I mean, even if they do, it just holds us off for 1 more turn, so it's ideally, it's not the end of the world, but yeah. If we then try to Tragic Slip it and now they have Counter Magic up, it could be kind of bad. This might be a little too greedy. They swing for 2 and they pass. I mean, that's leaving up a lot of mana. Ugh. So they could have Ghostly Flicker, they could have Ephemerate with 2 counterspell backups. They could have a lot of stuff. I think I'd probably just go to attacks and see if they try to flicker the Dignitary, and then we can try to Tragic Slip it. They don't. Okay, well, they could have a bunch of snaps, so I don't really want to overcommit with these either, but just sacking one thing keeps them alive, so I don't really have to overcommit. And if they're blocking like this, they definitely have a Ghostly Flicker. Now I could Tragic Slip this. Well, we could grow them to be big enough, so I'd have to sack 3 things. Then they go for Ghostly Flicker. I got Tragic Slip, then they counterspell that, then I could Spinning Darkness the Seagate Oracle. It's not terrible, but the Dignitary lives. I could also just deal it like 2. Okay, what if I do this? I just sack 1 or 2 squirrels, so I don't actually present lethal on the Dignitary. Then maybe they take the damage. Then at end step they go for a Ghostly Flicker and I Tragic Slip, they counter, and then I Spinning Darkness the Dignitary to finish it off. I kind of like that. So we got to do at least 1 squirrel. But if I do a second one, that might kill the Oracle. So that might force them to do the Ghostly Flicker now, which would be worse, I think. Plus, this just plays into snaps less. I think I'm just going to do this. If they go for the Ghostly Flicker now, either way, maybe it's not a big deal, but I'm not presenting lethal damage on either of these. So yeah, I'm just going to pass. But do they want to waste all this mana is the question. I feel like probably not. Ride's End. Exile target creature or vehicle. That's annoying. I guess I have another Carrion Feeder in hand. I could just sacrifice it obviously to grow the beetles. And well, the Darkness exiles cards from our graveyard, so it's possible I'll want to save them for Unearth, like this guy for Unearth, even though I already have a feeder. So I think I want this dead anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a Tragic Slip on the Dignitary and see what they want to do there. If Prismatic Strands, well, this does not deal damage, so I don't know what that's about. Misclick. Okay, well, I mean, if I had done Spinning Darkness, that would have worked, but I did not, so that's pretty good for us. Sounds like they did have the Ghostly Flicker and just pressed the wrong one. For damage from black sources, so I can't Spinning Darkness this turn, but I didn't really want to anyway, because I don't care about the Oracle. So yeah, now we'll sacrifice this to itself, grow the beetles. All right, well, I think it would have worked out fine, because if they did go for the Ghostly Flicker, I had the Spinning Darkness, but, you know, obviously the misclick helps us a little bit. They do have a Prismatic Strands, which is a pain for the future. Luckily, we have plenty of other sack outlets, not to mention the Unearth. So if I don't draw a swamp, I'll probably just play Carrion Feeder here, Ghostly Flicker, the Oracle, and a land. They don't have a white creature now, so I think it's worth Spinning Darkness on this guy, just because they're clearly looking for something in a bit of a rough spot, and this might not be super useful later because of the Prismatic Strands. Then again, if they had if they play a white creature here, maybe I would have wanted to save the Spinning Darkness to kill that so that they couldn't hold up the strands. I don't know, but felt like they were digging for something and I didn't want to play into that. So here we get to play a Carrion Feeder. If they counter this, I still get to attack in for 6 with the Beetles. Here's John and Ringo coming in. They go to 5. And then, worst case, I can unearth the Carrion Feeder next turn. Okay, they get an Archaeomancer. That's pretty good. They're going to get a Ride's End, maybe? Just to exile a Beetle. They could obviously get a Counterspell or a Flicker. Snap, maybe. I don't know. Yep, they're going for the Snap. I think that makes sense. Oh, yeah, it also Rituals here. Okay. Pass. All right. Turn 9, 2 mana unlocked. So I could play a Vampire, obviously. I don't think that's what we're doing. I think we're unearthing the Carrion Feeder and playing the Beetle again. Well, we're doing it in the other order, because if they want to prohibit this, they might think we have nothing else to play. Well, they didn't care about it. Now I'll get back this. Hopefully there's no Thraben Charm or anything, or Counterspell. Yeah, there's the negates. All right. Annoying. They don't have a white creature. I don't think they're going to want to trade this Archaeomancer for a Beetle. I would be happy with that. Yeah, they go to 2. Rite of Consumption's online if they don't have a Counterspell left, which they had gotten back the Snap with their Archaeomancer, so they have 2 unknowns. If I can get them to tap out, like maybe they tap out for a Lorien here just because they don't have much. Okay, Archaeomancer. Might be a Snap for the other Beetle. Yup, okay. I mean, honestly, not the worst, because then we just have the Bloodthorn Vampire to play, unless they have a Prohibit. Okay, Preordain. Looking for something. If they find Ephemerate, that would be pretty bad. I will admit, they do put one on the top, but it's not an Ephemerate. Or at least not one they want to use right there. Another Swamp's honestly not bad. So I have to play a Bloodthorn Vampire for any of these to be lethal with the right, so there's no reason I'm playing that this turn. So let's just play Beetle and Vampire. And I can attack with everything, but these get eaten pretty easily, so there's no real reason. Beetle at least grows with the Vampire. They did keep one on top, but it doesn't have to be like a Snap or anything. They block with the Vector Glider. I'm just going to grow, I'm going to want to grow these Beetles to be 3/3s anyway, probably. So I think I'm fine with this. And maybe they have a removal spell, but I assume I'll just eat the Vector Glider, and they'll have like maybe they kept a Lorien revealed or a Murmuring Mystic or something. Okay, or maybe a Ghostly Flicker and they just didn't have the, well, they would have had the mana, but they didn't want to use it there. Okay. Another mana is pretty good because we can play Vampire just as more fodder, and then we have a Right of Consumption too. I mean, this is 3 lethal attackers. They double block the Beetle. Well, currently this is lethal, so let's just... Maybe they have a Prismatic Strands. You do have a Prismatic Strands. Notably, Right of Consumption deals damage, so I'm not going to actually be able to kill them this turn. So that's fair. Although if they don't find a white creature, you know, if they do find a white creature, they'll have 2 Prismatic Strands. That's pretty bad. I think we'd rather sacrifice a squirrel. Oop, that was dumb. I sacrificed it to the wrong vampire because I'm very silly. Well, I guess this one dies now. Or I could keep it alive, but then it's tapped. It doesn't really make a difference. All right, let's just do that. That was just a short circuit in the brain. Okay, we should have an extra vampire, but whatever. Hopefully they don't get a white creature or anything. Snap's pretty good. Replay the Archaeomancer. What can that get back? I mean, that's super relevant. Maybe just a Preordain. Maybe a Prismatic Strands to just buy him another turn. Yeah, Strands. What deck are you playing? We are playing my Black Sack stock list at the moment. If the... oh, against. Gotcha, yeah. We're playing against Azorius Familiars. That's not good. Yeah, so they... Well, they're going to have to use the Prismatic Strands here. I think I just attack with these. If they want to chump and not use the Prismatic Strands and actually lose these, that's totally fine by me. I think that would be a losing proposition, so I'd rather not throw away another Vampire for no reason. So yeah, there's the Strands. They buy another turn. We'll pass. 5 mana for Alorian Revealed. Okay. This is the tapping low that I want to happen. Because if they fully tap out, I mean, this is pretty much just lethal, but Right of Consumption should work. Cycle for Plains. Okay, God for His Faithful. That means they now have 2 Prismatic Strands, which means they're not dead here. That's really annoying. Infestation Sage. Yeah, we'll attack with the Beetles. Again, if they want to chump, they're going to lose the Prismatic Strands, so they might as well use it. They're going to lose access to it, that is. I mean, we still have a fine shot. They only have 1 more free turn here, unless they get a another way to flicker the Archaeomancer. Dignitary, no, that gives them another turn. Actually, that's interesting. I might Right of Consumption here, because I'm not going to be able to attack, but it would still force the Prismatics to be used. Yeah. I mean, if they don't know the Prismatic works against it, then it just wins. But assuming they do, it's still, like, this turn I can't attack, so I can't force the Prismatic unless I use the Right of Consumption, which does force it. Then next turn I can attack. And if they have nothing, then I give them 1 fewer turn this way. The main problem is that I have to use up a Beetle or a Vampire to Right of Consumption, so I think we'll use a Vampire, because Beetles are already, they're consistently big enough. I don't really want to waste them. So that's Right of Consumption with this 3/3 Vampire. They can only gain 1 life in response, potentially, so that should be fine. Negate. Okay, their last card was a Negate. That's tough. Well, I mean, again, we're still in a fine spot, as long as they don't top deck very well, but they have 1 more turn from the Prismatic Strands. If they get, like, a Ghostly Flicker, we just lose, because they can just flicker Archaeomancer or Dignitary basically every turn. Tragic Slip helps a little bit. I think we just attack with these. They could just chump with a couple, but they kind of want everything, I think. I guess they could lose an Archaeomancer Familiar, maybe? I think that's fine. Again, I don't want to throw away things for the Vampire that the Prismatic Strands is going to use. All right, yeah, they use it anyway. We're definitely not just casting the Tragic Slip. Because if they have a Ghostly Flicker, it's a disaster. If they find the Ghostly Flicker and we have the Tragic Slip, we can prevent them from going off that way. And if they have Ghostly Flicker and then top deck a counterspell, then, I mean, they're just the best there ever was. They play up a land, though. That's a good sign. Hopefully no 3rd Prismatic. This time I will attack with a Vampire, because I'm hoping that we can force chump blocks here. Although if they go with like an awkward or an obvious 3, a bunch of blocks on the Blood Throne. No, they go for this. So sack here so that I can eat all 3 of them. And I'm not even going to Village Rites because these insects are lethal right here. So I don't really want to throw one of them away when it's a lethal attacker. Because if they get like another creature here on the ground, they could block all of these. So no reason to make it worse for us. All right. So we won the match. I would like to say this was a 17-turn game. I was on 1 land for 9 of those turns. And it worked out yet again, Shadeblade. So I know I'm not saying you always want to keep a 1-lander. But this one did work out pretty well, I must say. Ooh, this isn't bad. I'm learning how to play this deck from your YouTube channel. I'm very glad to hear that. I guess the best tip is just keep 1-landers. No, don't. I think, I mean, I say this in several videos. I say this in my guide. Usually, I only like to keep a 1-lander if I have a piece of card draw. I know you're capping, but like just to make sure everyone understands. If you have card draw and fodder to sacrifice, it's an okay keep potentially. But also, like, the one-landers I've been keeping are very specifically not, like, just all fodder or all beetles or whatever. It's, like, a feeder, a beetle, an unearth, a fodder creature, and a rite of consumption, where it's, like, 5 or 6 different really good utility pieces. So, yeah. This hand looks great. I would expect nothing less from the Black Sack Goat. Well, thank you very much. You always lead on fodder when you don't know what you're up against. Because if they just, like, bolt our beetle, it's kind of annoying. Looks like it could be more Jeskai. Could just be Is It. Probably just... If I get the vampire down, yeah, I can survive a bolt. If I want to double sack, I think that's okay here. Big brain move, keep no landers. I mean, if you keep a no lander on the draw, what if you draw 3 lands in a row? You're going to win that game, probably. All spells? Exactly. All right, so if they bolt the vampire, I'm going to have to keep it alive, or I could unearth it, actually. They don't. Looks like they just hope counterspell. Ooh, Swamp's a good draw, actually, because that lets me play Beetle, and if it gets countered, then I can still unearth it and play a Sage. Then we have tons of protection. We have a lot of pressure. Yeah, I think that's what we do. Think of the card advantage. It'd be enormous. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to bring that back. Oh, man, I love Unearth. Play this, and I'm going to pump once here so that it's harder for them to kill these, like to get me with, like, oh, in response to this sack, they, like, kill something. But I think we'll just leave it there, because the vampire obviously wants damage on a single turn. Back in the sack, baby. Ain't that the truth? They could play Breath Weapon main deck, in which case they could do one here. It's not the end of the world for us, though. I could actually just sack the insect, keeps both of these alive, let this die. We get a mercenary out of it. It's not bad for them. It kills off 2 pieces of fodder, but it's not the best in the world. Could also play like an augur, or Cast in the Fires, sometimes also main decked. They could just take off 2 pieces of fodder from that as well. Suplex. Okay. 3 damage and exile it. That's pretty brutal. Well, I think I want this vampire, so I think we're going to keep it alive. Boom, boom. This will be a 5/5. Then if they have a bolt or a scred, they're going to kill it. And I have a really big beetle. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to try to keep it alive. I think the mercenary is more relevant here, so I'm going to sack the insect. All right. Looks like they don't have another follow-up. Because if they bolt here, I could sack the mercenary. But if they bolted in response to the second pump, then I couldn't actually keep it alive. Another vampire. Well, maybe I should have let it go. That would have been better, but obviously I didn't know that was coming. Here we hit for 6. I could just pump, sack the mercenaries to the village rights to try to hit more fodder. I mean, there's a world where we could win here, because this is 6... 7. I'd have to hit like 2 double body creatures, but I think I wanted village rights it anyway. We also have the second vampire, which can be fodder, not lethal, but like if we had 2 swamps here, this is kind of a bad play, but that's not super likely, and that's just obviously what's going to happen. But just because that's what happened doesn't mean it was a wrong play to do. Yeah, now it's kind of bad because we don't have as much fodder to insulate the vampires against bolts or anything, but what are you going to do? We're still in a pretty good spot. They have to find a way to kill this beetle, and if I had to guess, their only removal spells would be screds and bolts, and maybe suplexes. But damage based, and without a scred they can't kill it. Without like a big scred or 2 screds they can't kill the beetle. They clearly didn't have one last turn, and we're gonna win that game. So yeah, I'm gonna guess this is probably just Is It control with terrors in it. So it's been a while since I played against this one, but based on the guide, we bring in they're gonna have Murmuring Mystics, terrors, maybe Augur Bolas, although a lot of lists don't play those anymore. So we bring in a little bit of Graveyard Hate because they do play terrors, but Reunions, they're not going to have any pinpoint cards we really care about. Reunion can be good against Scred or Bolt because it can throw off their math, but I don't think it's super necessary here. A couple Infestation Sages, Rite of Consumption because they have a lot of counter spells, and Shambling Guests don't have anything to pick off, so we're going to do that. This hand's great. We've been getting some pretty good hands today, I will say. Even our mulligan to 5 was a really strong one. So lead on a Link Breaker. Suplex is definitely a good one to keep in mind. Exile is brutal, so like there's potentially there's a world where they could just like suplex this right now or torch the tower. Yeah, that's pretty annoying, I will fully admit. So that exiles, so we don't even get our guy back. For that reason, I don't want to run out of Bloodthorn Vampire. I'm just going to Shambler and hold up our village rights so that if they try to do that again, I can village rights it. If they then counterspell that, maybe I lose some value, but I'm not going to just do it on my own turn. So yeah, preordain. 1 to the top, 1 to the bottom. All right, another Shambler. So I could play a Vampire, they counterspell, and then I unearth it. I don't have the most protection for it, though, so then if they just bolt it, it's kind of bad. Kind of think I just Shambler again here. I feel like there's no way they counterspell that. Maybe they do, but I'm kind of okay with that. And if they then go for like a Cast in the Fire, I still have the village rights. Play it a little slow while they're holding up mana. Could cycle Unearth here, but it's kind of our second copy of Vampire. I like it a lot. Well, 3rd copy. I like it a lot against counterspell decks. Now if I go for Vampire, And then Unearth. I have some more protection. They don't have double hard counterspell, but they could have like a lose focus. So they could still get me, or a Spell Pierce with the Unearth. Don't really want to tap out of Village Rites at the moment. I think I'm just going to pass again. We don't want to play into their mana. Probably cycle on Unearth here. Brainstorm. That's fine. I've been cutting statistically in interactive matchups like this. How do you play Glees against a lot of interaction? So I kind of agree with you, but there's a very distinct type of interaction that they're playing here, which is they're doing damage-based interaction, meaning that they have a limit to how much damage they can deal. And so sadistically actually helps you get over that limit. So I kind of like sadistically in any of the red removal matchups where they're just trying to deal you 3 or 4 or even scred like 5 or 6 damage, because sadistically helps you jump up really quick there. Okay, Lorien's good, but this lets us go wild a little bit. That's not a bad draw. Yeah, so for that reason, I kind of like it in this matchup still. Like, if they were mono blue terror, I take it out because their interaction is going to be bounce spells or like Demon Inferior. Sadistically is irrelevant there. Against Gardens, I would take it out as well because they're going to be casting down, they're going to be edicting you, they're going to be, you know, whatever. But against them, again, we're trying to get over that threshold of damage they can deal in a single turn so that it's harder for them to kill it. So yeah, like mono red, if you're playing against Madness, their best bet to kill you is to essentially play mono red control. Just try to kill every single one of your growers, maybe even some of your fodder. And the best way to prevent that is to get your guy big enough. And so yeah, so I like sadistically specifically for these types of matchups where they're dealing damage to your creatures. All right, so they have 4 spells in Grave. We have a Marauder and an Unearth, so I'm not super worried about a Terror. I could just Beetle and Vampire here. That's not bad. Yeah, I think there's not a lot else I'm doing. Scred hits for 5, maybe 6 next turn. So if they Scred a Vampire, it's probably dead. But I have a second Vampire, I have an Unearth, so I think that's okay. And at least the Beetle grows alongside it. If they have a Scred for both, you know, it's a little unfortunate, but Mystic. Okay, but we can get it with the Marauder. Even if they counterspell the Marauder, we can unearth it. They could make a bird, but non-token that the Marauder kills is really nice against Mystic. If they don't have a counterspell and I play this, they might just try to like bolt 2 things down in response. So maybe there's a reason to like play a Shambler to try to keep these big enough. But if they do have the counterspell, I really want the Unearth because Mystic could be the death of us. But luckily we have some of the answers. So I think we just do this. Yeah, they counterspell and then I unearth. And I'm even going to sack the Shambler here. Marauder's a better attacker, deals more damage, but also having it around means that if I get a Supernatural Stamina, I have access to another Edict. And I already have another Shambler in hand, so I don't need another one of those. So it seems good to me. We'll attack with the team. If they want to block the Vampire, I'll eat a Squirrel. Which they do, probably for the best, because I could deal them quite a bit of damage, if not lethal, if they did not. We also grow the Beetle here, so we hit for 5, down to 10. All right, they have access to a 7 damage Scred. That's good to know about. Looks like it's about to hit. So I couldn't keep the Beetle alive. I couldn't keep the Vampire alive. So whatever they target's dead, unfortunately. Yep. So it is 6 right now. I could sacrifice all 3 of these to keep it alive, but then they sack this landscape. It deals 7. So that's just going to die. I might as well sack it to the Vampire in case they have like a sorcery speed, like a suplex that they want to use on the Vampire afterwards. Obviously, if they have another bolt, they'll just use it in response. So losing that Beetle is unfortunate, but I simply didn't have any way to keep it alive. So Terror's good. Marauder off the top's pretty good. They could have a counterspell here. What's the best way to draw out a counterspell? Spellbomb, maybe? They might not care about it now that they have a Terror down. They clearly don't have 2 Terrors because I think they would have played them. So maybe they don't care about that. Shambler gives me enough fodder to keep the Vampire big. Yeah, I think we'll play that. And hey, if it doesn't need a counterspell, that's fine. It could still just let my Vampire get big enough to eat the Terror. If they don't have a counterspell, obviously we just eat the Terror anyway. Sack a landscape in response. Okay, not sure what that's going to do. All right. So I could sack the Shambler, but here I already have a Marauder, and if I do get a Stamina, maybe I want to use it on this. So I think that's fine. Swing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could deal 9 damage here, or just 4. I think we'll just do the 4. If they have a Scred, of course, they can kill the Vampire, but if they only have... Well, actually, I could keep it alive, but if they have something that can torch the tower, then they couldn't kill the Vampire through all this stuff. They kill the Marauder, but I'm going to obviously sack it so that it doesn't get exiled, and it grows the Vampire, just in case. All right, they got another Lorien. All right, not bad, but they really need to hit something there. I mean, they could play some Terrors. They could play some Screds. There's something. All right. They have a removal spell, looks like they're just holding it up. I think holding it up for our turn is probably a mistake, but because now we have Village Rites, we have Stamina potentially. All right, I'm going to play a Link Breaker. This is already lethal, this Vampire, but this would just force more lethal through. This would allow it to survive a scred, I believe, because this is 8 damage. Currently, this could be a 7/7. So yeah, they scred in response. That makes sense. So I could Village Rites this, gain a couple cards. I could just play another Vampire. That's probably better. Sure, that's fine. Attack for 2, and then yeah, I think another Vampire just keeps up the pressure. Bolt. Well, I want to Village Rites that, but I think that's fine. Again, like Vampire's lethal next turn. By not playing it, I think we're just giving them extra time. So yeah, they're down to 5. Was interesting to read that Terror's on the watch list for a potential ban. Yeah, I would be shocked if Terror actually got a ban. Like, it was strange to see that, because, like, yes, I know Terror is a very prevalent, powerful deck. No one's saying otherwise, but I don't know. It just seems like such a fair... Like, some deck has to be the most popular deck, right? There has to be a deck on top. I can't imagine being upset that Terror is the deck on top. Like, there's so many ways to combat it. You can just kill their creatures. You can exile their graveyard. You can just not walk into counterspells. And, yeah, it's one of the decks that I enjoy playing against more. So... I would just be shocked if it actually did catch a ban. So if I attack with everything, they block here. I have to sack 3 things to keep this alive, and then they could, like, scred it, maybe. Probably don't have another scred, but they could. If I sack this now, then I might... I think I just attack, but I don't attack with the Vampire, actually. I want to do this so that I can Village Rites whatever they block, and then have Spell Pierce mana up, so that I can play through a Spell Pierce. And maybe they have 2 Spell Pierces here, but if I had gone for the Spell Bomb first, then I wouldn't have it at all. They do have 2 Spell Pierces, it looks like. All right, I can live with that. Still hit for 2, so that means they have no cards. I could crack the Spell Bomb now, which prevents another Terror, but honestly, if their top deck is Terror, I think we're at a good spot, and I'd rather get that card. Now, if their top deck is like Lorien into another Terror, that could be pretty good. But I don't think they said Terror itself, just a ban targeting the deck. Yeah, I think Ben might have been saying just like the deck as a whole, but I mean, I would be... That's a pretty good draw. I would be astounded if Terror itself got banned. And, I mean, I would be upset about that, because that would kill not just one deck, that would kill, like, 3 decks. It might not kill Izzet, and I know Izzet's not already in a great spot, but it's obviously the best card for it to be having at the top end. Dimir Terror is a deck. Mono blue, I guess those are the 3, but like it would all but kill 3 decks. I think that'd be a terrible ban. I also just don't think it's that much of a problem. But anyway, Justin Watsy makes inflammatory comments to distract from egregious recent play designs. Unless I misunderstood, I'd be surprised too. I could see Lorien getting a ban instead. Yeah, I do think that everything that they said about Deadly Dispute, why it was banned, it was ubiquitous, it was crazy powerful, it just goes in every deck that plays black. That's basically true for Lorien as well. So I would not be shocked. I like Lorien as a card. It's cool, but it is crazy powerful. So like I could understand it getting banned, and I wouldn't hate that. Since it would just also be a minor blow a pretty big blow, but it wouldn't kill any specific deck probably. But that'd be fine for me. We're obviously gonna play the last match here, but I gotta run to the bathroom real quick, and then we will see if we can get that trophy. They could hit Sleep of the Dead. They can just shut down several blockers out of nowhere for lethal. They definitely could. I think that would be... I think that'd be another... Man, I'm playing against all the time recently. I think Sleep of the Dead would be a bad ban. The deck is incredible in that deck, which I think is one of the coolest things about Pauper. Sleep of the Dead is a bad card. It's just not a good card. It didn't see play in Limited. It sees play nowhere else. And Pauper is the format that can make bad cards playable, which I just think is so cool. And Sleep of the Dead specifically, I just think is such a unique effect. Yes, it's very strong in the deck, but I don't think it would be a good ban personally. All right, are we keeping another one-lander? We're on the play. We do have the card draw. We have Shambler Stamina. Whew. Against often plays like Dimir stuff, so I kind of almost feel like I could lead out on a feeder. I might be a little greedy. Maybe I just do the Shambler. Well, I guess actually I should do a Ghast if I'm trying to draw another land, but we're going to keep this one for sure. Yeah, we'll just do a Ghast. All right, it is something blue. Finally, a one-lander with card draw. Yeah, this is the time I'm going to lose with the one-lander. Usually they play like Dimir Fairies or Dimir Terror, which means I probably shouldn't have to worry about like a Humbling Elder here, which even if there is one, I can Village Rites. Could be a Spell Pierce, which would be pretty annoying. I would still get my treasure, though. I think we got to go for it. Try to get our land. All right, it worked. No land, but it did work. Decent cards. I could just play a feeder now. Next turn I can Shambler. Yeah, I'm just going to cast a feeder, I think. Blue in general just makes me less worried about the Carrion Feeder being killed, but also makes me more worried about it being countered, so I'd rather get it down before there's Counterspell mana up. A blue matchup is going to be tough on one land, for sure. I guess every single matchup here has been blue. It's been Azorius Familiars, Jeskai Ephemerate, Azorius Familiars, Is it terror? And now whatever this is. So I think, if it's fairies and I just play a 1-drop, we get ferried. That's really annoying. Shambligast would also be so good against fairies, so I almost regret using that one up. Fam seems to be the flavor du jour. Yeah, it does seem to be the case. I could just attack. I think I have to play something out. Something to get spell stuttered. Yeah, I don't know. If it doesn't get spell stuttered, it's just so good for us. If it does, it's pretty bad, but we're already kind of behind. Just a counterspell I can live with. Honestly, because I tanked so much, it's possible that they had the spell stutter and just were worried about a snuff out, which would be fair. Even in the New York League, there's like 5 FAMS players. Yeah. I was saying earlier, it probably is getting a little more popular today because I assume it had a bad matchup against High Tide. It's a blue deck, but it has a lot fewer counters than most decks, so, and it's very slow. They brainstorm. Still not sure if it's terror. I mean, on one land, I think at this point I just have to cast things, even if they do spell stutter. So what would the best thing to be to resolve? Probably the Shambler, because we can get the stamina going. Which also means if this gets countered and then these resolve, it's not great, but Force Spike, yeah, that's brutal. Could also be Mono Blue Terror. I don't think they play that quite as much, but it does look like it kind of is. Yeah, just play a Terror here. Deep Analysis, okay. All right, this is our turn. Draw a swamp. Perfect. I mean, we don't even have an incredible turn because I got those Shamblers countered, but we do get to play Infestation Sage. I kind of want to Sage sadistically. We can make a 5/5 feeder, but it just gets Demon Furiered and we're like in a terrible spot. Maybe I save that for the Vampire. I could just play Vampire here, but then we don't have any fodder that's resolved. That could all get countered. I could play a Shambligast, sack it to make a 2/2, and then play a Vampire, just so I have a little bit more pressure. I honestly don't hate that. Yeah, let's just do that. Is this running the stock 16 lands? I'm pretty sure the stock is 17 lands for Black Sack. Certainly some people play 16, but 17 is more common. So I'm on 17. I think that's the right number. Even with 17, people who have been watching can tell you I've been on a lot of 1-landers, mostly that have worked out. 16 is just far too low in my opinion. Well, it's exactly 1 card too low, but I feel like Brainstorm is way less common in Fae. It's way less common in Mono Blue Fae, but I still hadn't ruled out that he was on Dimir Fae, which does usually play Brainstorm. So that was why I was still on the fence. Now it very clearly looks like Mono Blue Terror to me, but just because I know that they usually play a Dimir deck, they switch between Dimir Fae and Dimir Terror a lot. I was already like predisposed to think that they might be on Dimir. Which obviously threw me off because I'm pretty confident now it's Mono Blue. All right, they Brainstorm and Lorien. 1-mana Terrors. There's a Serpent. Okay, no hard counter magic up. Force Spike if they want it. Beetle's not bad, but if I want to play Beetle and then Sage and that gets Force Spiked, that's really bad because we really need the fodder to resolve. So I could Sage and then Beetle. That's not terrible, I guess. Yeah, I think I do that. If it does resolve, it's pretty good. We have both these guys growing, but if it doesn't resolve, I still just think I need the Sage a lot more. Yeah, understandable. I can't really attack because I can't afford to trade like 3 creatures for the Serpent, but I can chump block, which is why I wanted the fodder, chump blocking, growing these guys. So we have this Rite of Consumption in hand. It's going to be pretty tough at this point, but maybe if there's no counter spells, I can like just get a sadistically out of Vampire and get it big enough to Rite of Consumption them. For that reason, I could not block, but of course, if we take 6 here and then they just have like Sleep of the Dead on 2 of our creatures, we're just dead next turn. Well, not 100% because I could sack this then and have an untapped blocker. Okay. I might need every point I can get for this sadistically on this Vampire. I kind of can't play around anything at this point in their hand. So if I play play this on here, 1, 2, 3, it could be a 10/10 plus the stamina. Actually, because of the stamina, which I really need to use on the Infestation Sage, I don't think I can block at all. Because the stamina doesn't do anything else on anybody, really. So I need it on the fodder, which means I can't chump with it. I think that's right to not block there, but could be bad. Well, there's a sleep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm not going to be able to write this turn, no matter what. Beetle's not bad. If their one card is a counterspell, we're kind of, it could be really bad, but I think I probably well, okay, so they have Sleep of the Dead. They have access to it twice next turn, so they can tap both of our guys. So I have to save the Sage to come back to block, because otherwise we're dead. So I can't like stamina it now. I could stamina it on our turn or on their turn when they go to do that. I think we're going all in on sadistically Vampire, because if we stamina this, we have 3, 4, that's 12, 13, and then if I draw a Swamp, I can Beetle right. Okay, that, or I could do it on Feeder. If I go on Feeder now, it's grows 2 for every one. Still can't afford to use this, but I could attack for like 2 here. But I could attack next turn with this because they're going to tap down the vampire again. Maybe they won't. I don't know. Oh gosh, this is real close. So if I attack with this now, hit for 2. Then attack with it again next turn and can get 6 damage, which should be easy. Then I could do lethal. But if I go here, they're just going to tap this step. Then we have the vampire. Actually, you know what? I think... All right, I don't want to use up too much time on this just in case this goes to like a late game 3. Also, if they just have a Spell Pierce. Hey, look at that. Shadeblade, you said you don't know why Terror decks always go all in on Spell Piercer for Spike. Clearly they did not, which is really annoying. I was banking on that being a nothing. So now I just have to... If I attack and they block, I could stamina this, but I have to use all of it plus the vampire to kill this, and then we have a 6/6, no, 7/7 versus... I guess if they double block, I'm not dead though if they double block or block at all. If they block here, I have a 7/7, but then they just sleep the dead it, and then I can't win. Okay, yeah, I gotta pass. Yeah, so they don't know what to play around. I don't know. I guess I can't really say why I think that's the case. Clearly, you know, they're doing the split here, and it's working out well. Well, that's an annoying draw. All right. I mean, with 4 serpents here, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to live here. I don't know if I have any outs, but if they have nothing in hand, no more counter spells or something, maybe I have a chance, but they have everything. Everything they need. All right. Well, we're down to everything's lethal. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I mean, I have to draw... Beetle, I have 4 blockers, everything's lethal, they have a Sleep the Dead. There's no way I can attack for 1, 2, 3, yeah, even if I could play one of these. If I could play one of these, and then I attacked and they didn't block, maybe I could get there. But even if I do attack 5, and then 5 isn't going to do it. I mean, I guess if I attacked and we dealt 6, no, it's still not. We're still 1 short, even if they didn't block, yeah. They should ban all the decks that always have every card they need in their hand. How fair is that? Honestly, that is true. I bet if you looked at the statistics, those decks would be winning way more than decks that don't have what they need in hand every time, right? So that is like really unreasonable. All right, we get Graveyard Hate, we get Creature Hate, and I like to bring in a couple Drown in Sorrows. So the Rite of Consumption, or not Drown in Sorrow, Mesmeric Fiends. Of course, all our removal is good. Rite of Consumption just gets countered, usually. Sadistically here, this is one that, if they are going to have interaction, it's going to be bounce spells, so that's not good. Shamblegast can kill an untransformed Delver, but that's about it. And then the Flying on Infestation Sage, not super relevant, so that's what we're going with. Calling PFP now. Mono Blue's too strong, ban Island. Obviously, that's always been the case. And I'm pretty sure Big Blue has WotC in their pocket, so I don't think the island's ever getting banned, even though it's definitely the biggest offender for wins and for like uneven wins in any format ever, honestly. 100% of Mono Blue decks play islands, exactly. Like, how is that reasonable? Like, I wouldn't be complaining about Terror if they had to play a bunch of tap lands, you know? This hand's not great. It's not terrible. We can get an early big feeder. Like, I could get a turn 2 5/5 attacking, which if they don't Deem Inferior or Sleep of the Dead it's pretty good. This also does run the risk of playing a Carrion Feeder into a Gut Shot, because sometimes they have that, or Piracy Charm. But we have the Unearth to bring it back, plus we have a Vampire. I think we're going to run it. Kalikai's was saying Bridges should get a look. Yeah, I think Kalikai's maybe just hates mid-range a little too much. I think Bridges are very strong. I really don't think that they're overpowered. Of course, I am a mid-range lover. I like a lot of the decks that the Bridges enable, but in my opinion, I don't think that they're ban-worthy. Well, I'm gonna grow this with the Unearth and go in a little bit on this. I don't know if we want to go all in. I think I'm going to sack to be a 3/3 here, because then we have Mercenaries that can pump, so it's equivalent, 5 damage even without sacking these. We have guys for Village Rites and stuff like that. I think the meta is healthy and nothing should be touched. I didn't have a huge issue with Tide either, but I get the reasoning that they had. Of course, they reveal a Demon Inferior right away. Okay, well, that's annoying. Yeah, I mean, even before the ban, I said I wasn't necessarily sure anything needed to get banned, but I also can't say I'm upset that High Tide is gone. It was a universally unfun deck to play against. Even people who enjoyed playing it didn't, said, like, Kalikai's did a reaction video to it and said, I even don't like playing against the deck. And it's like, well, even if the reason the deck is in the format is for people who enjoy the deck, but then even those people don't like playing against it, I just don't see what benefit it brings to the format if there's a deck that everybody hates playing against. So, I don't know. Well, yeah, they get to Demon Inferior after this brainstorm. That was kind of insane that they found it right away. I don't really need it. Second from the top, I have a Vampire that I'd rather go in on at this point. I I think. So I think we just sack it, because it's basically like putting it on the bottom, but it is an extra card in our graveyard in case we get an unearth and want to bring it back later or something. And now for drawing all swamps, it's going to be a tough one. You get to watch your opponent combo off for 15 minutes. To scoop when they mess up doesn't feel good for either player. Yeah, exactly. Like, I am unwilling to scoop against a high tide player almost every single time, no matter how good it looks like they're doing, because if I just wait there for 15 minutes and do something else, then maybe I'll have gotten the win at the end of that, and that's just not why I'm there. Oh. Yeah, now I get a beetle, which is fine, but I'm not going to cast it into a counterspell here, not as my only spell. Consider. To be honest, if I would bet on any ban, I think Refurbished Familiar will eventually get the axe. It's always somewhere between good and backbreaking. I mean, obviously I'm a big fan of Refurbished Familiar decks. I played Jund, I played Grixis, I play Esper, but I've been one of the people saying that it is definitely, like, people want to ban Writhing Chrysalis, and I'm like, Refurb is the most busted card in the format, let alone the deck. So I totally agree that it could definitely get banned at some point. All right, we need a good draw here so that I can cast one, get it countered, and then cast the other. Vampire's okay. I can cast that, maybe it gets countered, I can play a beetle. Double pump the vampire. They block with the terror, but then I have to sack both mercenaries and the beetle just to keep the vampire alive. That's not very good. Not unless I had a right of consumption to win the game with. What's up, Jason in chat? What's up, Daniel? How's it going? Man, Refurb is good. There has to be some good cards. I mean, I agree. There has to be some good cards, and it is good, but it is a step above. Like, it's a 1 mana, 2 for 1 no matter what, unless it gets countered. And then in multiples or with a blood fountain, it's just, you know, backbreaking. It's especially punishing to any mulligans. Like, mulligans are already hard enough, but let alone if you get refurbed once or twice or thrice. I really don't know what to do here. I kind of think nothing, but then they attack for 8 and I go to 3. Yeah, I don't know what getting one of these out does for me right now. I'm just gonna pass. I think we've lost this one, unfortunately. Refurb is insane card. Discard, fly, artifact, draw 1. 1 mana. Yep. Forces you to play artifacts. Can't be in every deck. You're right. And if artifacts were a underrepresented card type in the format, then I think that'd be a real argument. Unfortunately, artifacts are the most powerful card type, and there are, 10 decks predicated on simply playing artifacts, so it's not very hard to find a deck that it goes in, or multiple, obviously. Okay, Village Rites is something. They, of course, now have 2 counter spells up, potentially. Not to mention Spell Pierce, Force Spike, could be 3. Well, I think we gotta go for it now. High Tide play only 1 deck and got banned. Yeah, that's true. So if I play Bloodthorn Vampire, I kind of don't think it's gonna get countered, and then Village Rites is susceptible not just to counterspell, but to Spell Pierce. So I think I'm just gonna Village Rites here, hope it doesn't get counterspelled or dispelled or anything. There's the dispel. Refurb is only in Jund and Esper Affinity and Grixis Affinity. Also Orzhov Glint Blade, which obviously is not a very prevalent deck at this point. Mardu Synth, which is also not a huge prevalent deck, but between those 5 decks, that's a good number. And also 3 of those decks are in the top, 8 most played decks or whatever. Are the artifact lands too strong? No, it must be the 2/2 flyer. I mean, I think artifact lands are strong, for sure. I just don't know if the bridges are more problematic, honestly. Tap lands, I think, are enormously, have an enormous drawback in this format. I mean, we're super dead here. I don't know what to do. Well, no trophy for us, unfortunately. Also a bummer, because that's one of our favored matchups, but kept a bad one-lander. Well, kept a one-lander that did not pan out on game 1, and they had kind of all the answers, and then we kept a hand that I specifically said we're going to lose to a Demon Inferior, and then we did. So, it goes that way sometimes. But 4/1's pretty good. I do think this is kind of the deck you want to be playing if you're trying to kill all of these blue control decks, like Mono Blue Terror. Again, we are usually favored, even if that one didn't work out, but we beat Familiars twice, we built Jeskai Ephemerate, and we beat Izzet Terror, all of which were not too difficult to be able to get there. This kind of is the blue control killer. We're definitely going to do another league here, but if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.